Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Thursday, April 28th, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. Great archives at the top of the page. Eye candy, which actually harkens back to something that we're going to talk about here because the week of May 9th through the 13th, that's a week from this coming Monday, I'm going to be celebrating my 27th anniversary of my arrival here in St. Louis Radio. I've been on the air for 27 years. In St. Louis, and we are going to celebrate with 5 full days of highlights from those 27 years. Some of the highlights of the celebrities included David Letterman, Jay Leno, Oprah, Bill Maher, Paul McCartney, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Elton John, Don Henley, Joe Montana, Jennifer Lopez, Madonna. How many St. Louis radio personalities that you know have had a one-on-one interview with Madonna? Ed McMahon, Robin Williams, Joe Frazier, Smokin' Joe Frazier, actually sings the show, sings Proud Mary, as a matter of fact. The great Jimmy Stewart, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Regis and Kelly, Eric Clapton, Michael J. Fox, Jerry Seinfeld, Dick Clark, John Mellencamp, Ray Romano, Steven Tyler, Roger Daltrey, Mike Wallace, Bill Murray, Leslie Nielsen, Mickey Mantle, Lorne Michaels, the legendary producer of Saturday Night Live, Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer, Phil Donahue, Terry Hatcher talks about her nipples, Captain James Lovell, Apollo 13, one of the great interviews we had, oh my gosh, Tim Russert, and Senator John McCain. Along with all that, you're going to hear our live broadcast from Moscow and the Abbey Road Studios in London, the raid of the Arnie Warren Show on KMOX at the VP Fair back in 1985, my appearance on the Sally Jesse Raphael Show, and the infamous break-in at Mike Bush's. Again, that's the week of May 9th through the 13th, the Big 550 KTRS, where we are there every day from 10 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. All right, let's get to the showbiz news. Cara DioGuardi has a new book out. It's called A Hell of a High Note, Surviving Life, Love, and American Idol. She says, Cara DioGuardi says, her time as a judge on American Idol was torture, and that's her word, by the way, and almost prompted her to buy adult diapers due to anxiety over possibly wetting herself from nerves. Also talks about her past sexual abuse, etc. She's a stretcher case, I'm telling you. I was getting to like her, too. I was just to the point where I was starting to find things to like about her, but I'm sorry, she's a stretcher case. Speaking of American Idol, and I have like 4 stories about American Idol today, one way or the other. I don't even watch the show anymore since they bounced Pia. But in an interview in the new Rolling Stone, comes out tomorrow, Steven Tyler admits that he accepted the gig on American Idol in part to gain leverage over the other members of Aerosmith. Things are not good in that band. They almost fired him and stuff like that. By the way, if he had not taken the gig, it looks like it would have gone to Roger Daltrey. And Roger Daltrey is, I guess, somebody who they wanted, but when he showed up, he didn't look like a rock star anymore. His hair was cut, he looked sort of just very normal, and the producers were like, he looks too much like a regular guy, this is television, let's go with Steven Tyler. Steven also confirmed that he almost replaced Robert Plant in Led Zeppelin back in the fall of 2008. That's all in the Rolling Stone that comes out tomorrow, Friday. And the first shot has been fired in the impending war over singing competition shows. There is talk that Fox allowed American Idol reject Pia Toscano to appear on ABC's Dancing with the Stars in an effort to steal attention away from the premiere of The Voice on NBC. It just like goes ding, 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 like that. And next fall, we're going to find out just exactly what the American public's appetite is for singing shows, because after 10 years of American Idol, now you're going to have Simon Cowell back with the X Factor, and Paula Abdul will be on there too. And then, of course, man, oh man. Jennifer Lopez, by the way, when she signed on to do American Idol, they forked over a whopping $12 million. But now, she's like, I don't know, the sexiest person on earth, or the most admired woman in America, or one of these goofy awards that they're always giving out, and she's America's sweetheart right now. And so she said, so I'll be asking for $20 million next year. Have a nice day. If there's a bigger idiot in the country right now, more so than Donald Trump, don't introduce me to him or her, please. Donald Trump, well, he says now he's happy that the president produced his birth certificate, because now we can talk about things that really matter. like the president's grades in college. You know, I identified this as racism yesterday, and I'm glad to see that I wasn't the only one, because Bob Schieffer, Face the Nation, CBS News, he went on yesterday, and he was, you know, his vein was sticking out in his neck. He goes, look, this is racism, okay? When you're basically saying that a black man is not smart enough to have gotten into college. By the way, you know, there's a story, where did I lost the story? Donald Trump, his kid, or not his kid, the son-in-law, something like that, went to Harvard because he donated like $2.5 million bucks. So, but yeah, $2.5 million. Yeah. Jared Kushner, who's married to Donald's daughter Ivanka, was a crappy student, got into Harvard because his dad made a $2.5 million donation. I almost lost that there. I got to make sure I highlight that. Hold on here. Just hang with me here for a minute, just for giggles. All right. I'll make sure I mention that later. We're editing on the fly here today, folks. Also, yeah, so, and then Adam McKay, who did Anchorman with Will Ferrell, and also Talladega Nights, has written a funny essay saying that Hawaii now has to prove that it's a state. It's just getting crazy. And, Trump also said he wants the president off his basketball court to start dealing with OPEC. Donald? And by the way, just for giggles, Trump's got his own line of menswear, the Donald J. Trump Signature Collection, manufactured in China. What a dick. All right, LinkedIn just released a study based on all of their users, basically every business person in the world, and figured out which names are most commonly associated with being a CEO. For men, the top 5 are Peter, Bob, Jack, Bruce, and Fred. And for women, the top 5 are Deborah, Sally, Deborah, spelled the other way, Cynthia, and Carolyn, for what it's worth. A 21-year-old driver accidentally drove off the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Now, I went to the Grand Canyon with my family, I guess it was 4 summers ago, and they have a sign there that said, and by the way, if you've never done the Grand Canyon thing, you absolutely have to. It's the one, you have to see the Grand Canyon. So, anyhow, they got a sign there that says, most people fall to their death because they get too close to the rim. And I thought about that for a minute. I go, what do you mean most? Well, how do the other people die? And how close am I to right now standing here reading this sign? I've never understood that sign, and I couldn't get a satisfactory explanation. Anyhow, it's this guy, 21-year-old guy, drives off the south rim, falls 200 feet, the car lodges against a tree, he climbs back up to safety. Go buy a lottery ticket, dude. We know that the St. Louis Cardinals are selling baseball tickets at a price that is commensurate with the importance of the series. So, like the tickets for the Pittsburgh Pirates don't cost nearly as much as the tickets for the Cardinals playing the Chicago Cubs on a weekend. And now, this is the first I've seen of anything like this. The University of Nebraska might start charging engineering majors higher tuition than English majors because they earn more after graduation. We're going to start prorating. God! All right. Pat Robertson, it's been a while since we heard from that old coot, says that liberals abort their babies to be more like lesbians. Sounds about right from Pat Robertson. The royal wedding finally going to get out of the way tomorrow. I can't wait so we can stop talking about this. Stupid. And celebrity birthdays today. I just want to talk for a moment here about Anne Margaret. I got to tell you, she's 70 years old today, and a lot of people really lost track of her for a long time. You know, when you're a sex kitten, you know, you're just a sex symbol, and your looks begin to fade a little bit. People aren't interested in you anymore. And then all of a sudden you're a nostalgia act, as was the case about, what was it, 10, 12 years ago when they started doing those grumpy old man movies. But Anne Margaret, back in the day, oh my God. I just want to tell you about 3 movies. If you haven't seen, or if you haven't seen them recently, and particularly if you were a fan of Anne Margaret, it's worth going back to look at, because in her day, there just wasn't anybody like her. There was nobody like Anne Margaret back in the day. 70 years old today. Go back to 1963 and go watch Bye Bye Birdie again with Dick Van Dyke and Paul Lynde and Ed Sullivan playing himself from 1963. Just a great musical. Very, very funny. Then slide it up to 1971, where she put on about 20 pounds at the behest of director Mike Nichols, who doesn't make a lot of bad movies, The Graduate, for example. 1971 movie directed by Mike Nichols, Jack Nicholson, Art Garfunkel, who is fabulous in this movie, Candice Bergen, who was just drop dead gorgeous at that time, and just some dialogue in this movie that is incredible. Mike Nichols came along years later, just I guess about 8 years ago, and did a movie called Closer. Not The Closer, but Closer, with Julia Roberts and Jude Law and a bunch of other people, Natalie Portman, Clive Owen. Very, very similar to Carnal Knowledge in terms of the dialogue. That is, you just don't see this stuff in movies, and nobody does it as good as Mike Nichols. But he did the movie Carnal Knowledge back in 1971, just absolutely groundbreaking. And then, in 1978, Anne Margaret played basically the high school girlfriend who Anthony Hopkins goes back years later to go visit in upstate New York, in a movie called Magic, Burgess Meredith. This is the movie that I've often identified as one of the scariest movies that I have ever seen. It's not a lot of gore and special effects or anything like that. It's a psychological thriller. Anthony Hopkins plays a ventriloquist who's got a dummy who's got a really smart mouth and talks dirty, and he's playing all the comedy clubs. And he's about to hit it big and do his first gig on The Tonight Show, and his agent is played by Burgess Meredith. And Anthony Hopkins, because of all the pressure of suddenly making it big, he starts cracking up. And the dummy starts talking to him without Anthony having to have his hand stuck up his back. And I got goosebumps just thinking about this. This movie was directed by Sir Richard Attenborough. We're not fooling around here. I got an email yesterday from a gal who said, when are you going to publish? Put it on your website or something. You're always talking about these lists of movies, particularly older movies, and some of them that are sort of off the beaten path that maybe a lot of people didn't see or a lot of people forgot about for whatever reason. But there's 3 right there for a musical, just fun, mindless, just a hilarious movie. Bye Bye Birdie from '61, Anne Margaret. Anne Margaret again in '71 in the Mike Nichols brilliant movie Carnal Knowledge. And Magic with Anthony Hopkins from 1978. So go check out those movies. JC's Eye Candy today, as we talked about, we're going to be doing the anniversary week starting a week from Monday. And sort of a throwback to the old 1 hour dirty joke. Those of you who've been around since the beginning, back in 1984, the Casey days, remember that I did that every morning at 7:15 and 8:15. Carl was late for school all the time because he was sitting in the car listening to the 1 hour dirty joke. The little naughty Dustin Hoffman tells a joke that would have been an ideal 1 hour dirty joke. It's more funny. There's no profanity or anything like that, so have fun with it. Dustin Hoffman today on our Eye Candy feature, and that's right below what you're looking at right now. All right, that's it. JC's Daily Dose for Thursday, April 28th, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. And in the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Fields are drying out. We're going to get some more rain over the weekend, but the fields are drying out. We're going to play next Tuesday up in St. Peters. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.